Good morning, it's Drew. It's now second week in August, so we're progressing with the TVR restoration slowly but surely. Over the last couple of weeks, I haven't had too much time, but I've just continued cleaning up various parts of the chassis. I'm also waiting for delivery of some new engine mounts. The engine was basically sitting without the gearbox at the back, which supports the back end of the engine. So it's like that for at least 10 years, and you could see where the original engine mounts were beginning to perish and come apart. So managed to source a couple of new ones, and did the passenger side one last week. Undoes fairly easily. It's only a few M10 bolts that hold it in. That let me get in there and give the chassis a bit of a clean and tidy up. But also had a bit of a tidy up of the cylinder head. Obviously, when you start changing spark plugs and things, you don't want all the crud falling into the bores. So had a good tidy up round there. Done a few bits, just de-rusting and cleaning up at the front of the engine. And this morning, going to make a start on the driver's side engine mount. As you can see, cracked, perished at the top. Those cracks were quite a lot wider when it was just hanging on the two front engine mounts. To get in there, not quite such good access as the other side, so I'm going to pop off this oil pressure sensor and the earthing strap. That should give me some good access to get into these. If I can show you, rather inaccessible nuts there, but the bolts themselves down here are going to be straightforward enough, I hope. Also, I'll then get this side of the cylinder head cleaned up, hopefully to match the other side. Again, just kind of like future proofing it to make sure no crud ever falls into those bores when we do spark plug changes in the future. Thank you. Wow, so I was just looking back. I'm not sure I posted the last video, but the last video I made was on the 10th of August, so you might have just seen this one tacked onto the end of it. Not had a huge amount of time for car restoration over recent weeks. Been on holiday. I've had a couple of outside properties to look after and get done up, and I've actually got a big property restoration coming up in a couple of weeks time, so just trying to crack on because this car is almost ready for the bodywork to go back on. So last time I updated you, we were looking at the engine mounts. That's the passenger side one, all fitted. Not really a difficult job at all. New 9-lock nuts as always, and a clean up of the cylinder head. I say just finished off putting a bit of satin black on some of these pulleys. Just took them off and satin blacked them up just to make it look a little bit more presentable. And then on the driver's side, cleaned up the cylinder head and fitted the new engine mount. Again, new 9-lock nuts, but also managed to get in and get a bit more paint on the chassis. I've also refitted the starter motor, refitted the clutch save cylinder and its pipe, which was a bit of a palaver because, needless to say, the fitting on the new clutch save cylinder was different to the one that came off the car. But had a friend of mine just do a new flare for the nut on that. And at the back of the car, really just a little bit of a tidy up. A few weeks ago, it's going to move the fuel tank out of the way. That's one of the problems with working on a car in a small garage. You could never have anywhere to put anything. But yeah, tied it up here. You can't really see, there's not enough light. Maybe we'll come around this way. But I've refitted the brake hoses. They have to have new copper washers on when they fit on the refurb calipers. Cable tied the handbrake cables back on, and then got in there with a wire brush as best I could just to kind of clean everything up and leave it presentable, and hopefully buy it a bit more longevity once it's all back together. And then today I've been refitting the fuel pipe. So on the driver's side you've got a fuel return pipe. Then on the passenger side, I've refitted and tested the fuel pump, which sits on there on a couple of little rubber mounts. A brand new fuel filter. I had put a new filter on it when I started the engine at the start of the project, but God knows what crud was floating around in the system, so prudence for a 10 or 15 quid just to stick a new fuel filter on it. The old bracket was really manky, so I made a new one. just out of a little strip of aluminium I bought from B&Q. Quite pleased how that went, nice easy job. And then as I try not to break my neck coming forward, the new fuel pipe, obviously no point beginning to use the old one, because old, knackered, and won't be compatible with E10 fuel. So new fuel line, cleaned up the old metal fuel pipe, and there we go. And then because I'm that sort of person, jacked it up. There's a little bit more fettling to do on the front of the chassis. I've got it all cleaned up lovely now, so I'm just going to get under here while I brush back the chassis at the front, get a silver hammer or two upon it. And again, because I'm like that, I've just cleaned up the sump and put a coat of engine enamel on it just to make it look nice. So yeah, really quite pleased with progress. I'm obviously dependent on having a friend available for body fitting, but really there's not very much more else to do before the body goes back on. I will go and treat myself to a camber gauge, because it'd be great to adjust the camber on the wheels back, at least something sensible. The adjustment just sits on here, but obviously when you strip down the suspension you lose your settings. So that's pretty much one of the final jobs to do. As I say, a bit more paint at the front, and then try and find a friend to help me get the bodywork back on. So yeah, there we go, that's the update. As ever, if you're liking what I'm doing, please ask any questions below, hit like, subscribe, anything that you want to do, and I'll update you shortly. Thank you.